again, is a man of extremes, historically speaking, and a man of with an all or nothing mentality. This is just kind of a new way of looking at things, and food is one of those things. I don't
Mhm.
feel the need to overeat. I don't feel the need to have a midnight snack. I don't feel the need to, run to Dairy Queen or whatever. It's just when it's there, I'm going to eat it, no problem. But I'm not going to do it again tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that because I don't need to.
Welcome to the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Thornton. Today we have Dr. Jim Arnold with us here today. And welcome, first of all, Jim. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Leslie. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you too. It always is. I'm excited for our audience to meet you today. And yeah, appreciate your being willing to come on and share your experience. So before we get into your story, would love to introduce you formally. So Dr. Jim Arnold has been a leader in the dental industry for over 2 decades, drawing on his experience as a clinician, multi-practice owner, and educator to empower dentists in achieving success. Through Luxury Dental Retreats, LDR, he combines advanced education with luxury experiences, helping dentists elevate their practices and personal growth. With Foundation Dental Services, FDS, he partners with dentists to create seamless practice transitions, preserving autonomy, patient care, and legacy without private equity involvement. Committed to fostering growth and balance, Jim's mission is to help dentists thrive through innovative learning environments, transformative partnerships, and actionable strategies. As a dynamic speaker, he brings deep insights into dentistry, leadership, and business, inspiring progress and meaningful change in the profession. Thank you so much for
Wow.
being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Leslie.
Woohoo! Absolutely. Yes. So, yes, you're willing to share about your experience of diving in and kind of trying out the hypnosis thing without having too much experience. And yeah, would love to hear where you were at before, as well as what you had already done personal development wise. Because something that I really learned about you during your personal breakthrough session, Jim, was you have been around the block when it comes to self-awareness and personal development and professional development. Like you've done a lot of things. So would love to hear.
Wow. Well, thanks, Leslie. I appreciate it. This situation specifically, what attracted me to you was the fact that you work with people for kind of permanent weight loss. And what I'd heard through the grapevine was that it was really predicated on changing the way that or changing the way we look at food or changing our relationship with food. And that was really attractive because I've always been an athlete, and I was 109 pounds in high school and 125 when I was in college, but it was because I was running a lot, 15, 20 miles a day. But after college, when I wasn't competing anymore, I put on a lot of weight. And that was really tough for me. Having been an athlete my entire first 25 years of my life, it was tough. But then I got out of dental school, lost the weight, gained the weight, and have just yo-yoed back and forth. And I think I shared with you that over the past, I don't know, 5 to 7 years, I put on 60 pounds, which was really traumatic and had to do a lot with just kind of where I was emotionally, where I was in terms of a lack of life balance, and coming off of a 6 year triathlon career. I had multiple serious injuries that prevented me from doing the things that I love. So, anyway, sorry, it's a long story, of course, but when I heard about what you do, I thought, I'm in the process of losing a lot of weight right now and getting healthy. I would love to do something such that when I get to my goal weight, when I get to optimum health, I'm able to maintain it. And I thought that this was a great avenue for doing so.
That's incredible. Yeah, a couple of key points that I want to hit on. A lot of people, when they come to me, they have similar backgrounds of being athletes in the past. And so much of the work that we need to do in order to actually achieve permanent weight loss is some identity shifting. At those very ripe years of life, we create an identity around being fit, being active, being an
Mm,
athlete. And then when our bodies are no longer matching that identity, it can cause a tremendous amount of inner turmoil. Do you mind
yeah.
sharing a little bit more about what that was like for you when you put on the weight?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this was a process that had happened maybe 3 or 4 times in my adult life, just this yo-yo, because I've tended to be all or nothing. If I'm on something, I'm on it almost obsessively. And then if I fall off, I just like fall off the cliff sort of thing. And as anybody who's had trouble kind of, I guess, controlling their weight could, I think, relate to, once you start to put it on, you start to feel badly about yourself. And then you want to eat more because it makes you feel good. And it's just this sort of this never ending process and cycle that I had been on for so long. And so, coming from a place of, again, abundance and a mindset where I know that there's unlimited potential. I've been doing a lot, in terms of my personal growth to get healthy, to get my mind right, to work on my spiritual side. And so this part of it, I feel so much better in all areas of my life. And this is a feeling that I intend to maintain for the rest of my life. And I think with your help, it's a lot easier to do so.
I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. There's almost this, and you let me know what you're thinking about this, but what I see for clients is, you know, the the benefits that we have from working out and from exercising and eating right and all the different things. It really, it helps us perform better, right? We have more confidence.
Right.
All of the amazing benefits of that. We all know that. And so a major shift happens when, for whatever reason, because it's like the one thing that is a constant is change. And so, to think about the whole course of our lives, and like you were saying, it's you had injuries that happened, which happens to my clients a lot when they find me. Like there's things that are out of our control.
Yeah.
For some of my female clients, menopause, like different things that has it that, we can't, our bodies change and that weight loss or weight gain happens. And the one thing that, is the positive is, we have really good relationships with our emotions as a result of exercising. It's like we feel good, we feel on, we get that dopamine, we get that energy, right? That we can control. But then what happens when we can't do that anymore for whatever reason? And what I find is like kind of the double-edged sword of exercise and being in shape and following all the, good regimes
Yeah.
is that we never actually had the opportunity to learn
Mm.
how to manage our emotions.
No doubt. Yeah, I totally agree. And in terms of identity, yeah, that was my identity for a long time. It's still really deeply embedded at age 55, although I haven't competed in about 10 years. Um, that having been said, when when you do start to get healthy again, the important thing is no matter what route you take, is that it's something that's sustainable, and it's not all about weight. It's about body composition. It's about what we eat and all that sort of thing. But one thing I've really learned over the past 7 or 8 months is moderation with everything. I mentioned the all or nothing mentality, and you mentioned how, well, you can't, avoid injury sometimes. Well, that is true sometimes, but I have a tendency just to go so hard at everything I do that, my body would just break down when I was training for Ironman triathlon and that sort of thing. So this time around, I've done everything in moderation. Tomorrow will be the 200th day in a row that I've worked out. And to my mind, I still haven't done a hard workout. They've all been very reasonable. They've all been very doable and conservative, such that I haven't gotten injured. I've lost 60 pounds. I'm healthy. With regard to my diet, I've just made small changes because in the past, when I think a lot of people can relate to this too. You go on these crash diets, and whether it's Atkins or paleo or a million other diets, you can lose weight really fast. The problem is it's not sustainable. And whatever you do with your life, it's got to be sustainable, be it exercise, be it dietary, be it the way that you look at yourself in the mirror. The all or nothing mentality is what really killed me for a long time. And you've really helped me in a big way to curb that tendency.
That's incredible. What I hear you saying is that you got really authentic around what actually will equal sustainability for me now. That you were able to transition from the all or nothing to, okay, that's not sustainable. So let me create a plan that is actually sustainable, which might not be the same type of crazy hard workouts as an
Yep.
athlete when I was young, but
Yep.
it is consistently, moving my body in these certain types of ways
Absolutely.
now.
In my 40s, even, I was training 20 plus hours a week for several years and at a high intensity level. Now, I'm doing anywhere from 30 to 60-minute workouts. And, again, I'll get my heart rate up, but I'm not doing anything to really stress my ligaments and tendons that, have a tendency to tear or pull. But, I want to touch on something, Leslie. I did mention that I sought you out because of the weight situation and my tendency to yo-yo as an adult. That having been said, we didn't actually go that route, which is an interesting thing. The fact that we focused on some other things that were really important to me to curb, but it still had this impact on me with regard to weight control. It just tells how powerful what you do is. Even though it wasn't a specific focus, it's there. It's embedded in my subconsciousness, and I know that it's had a big impact on how I'm handling this weight loss.
That's incredible, and I can't wait for you to share exactly what that's looked like for you, and I'm so glad that you're going here because that's where I was wanting us to go next. The statistic is that something like 95% of people who lose weight with just diet and exercise alone will gain it back, and
Yeah,
sometimes they gain even more back within 5 years.
no
That's a
doubt.
very, very high statistic, and so what it's showing us is that there needs to be a holistic way of approaching weight loss. Right, and I
100%.
know how I mean, pretty much probably 85% of my clients now, they'll come in, they either were on Wegovy or Ozempic, they still are, or and for whatever reason, they can't be on it anymore or whatever. It's like, I really get the shiny objects, right, of wanting to get it off fast and all these different types of things, and
Yeah.
if that's the route anybody chooses to go, it's like, no problem, like, do you. And when we're talking about what you're talking about, right, the consistency and sustainability,
Yeah.
it's like we have to address these other aspects that go along with it. So I would love if you would share, what we specifically covered in our work together that has impacted and how that has shown up for you.
Yeah, when we did our interview to kind of talk about the process and what was really important to me and what I was dealing with, a lot of it had to do with kind of, I think, self-image. It had to do with some bad habits, some emotions that tend to go unchecked for me. Again, back to that very intense, high energy, all or nothing mentality. I think people generally see me as a really nice guy and pretty happy and pretty gregarious. That having been said, there are times where my anger really gets the best of me, and historically speaking, it hasn't taken a really intense trigger either. It's been things that are relatively minor that could just set me off. And that's a really debilitating thing to deal with in relationships, in friendships, as a parent, and all the other important areas of life. And so, some of those negative emotions, I mean, every emotion has its place. Every emotion is important to us for different reasons, because there are times where we are justified to be angry. We're justified to be frustrated. We're justified to be, down. We're justified to be, I mean, there's just like endless negative emotions that have us vibrating at low frequencies and starts to attract even more of those negative things. So when I did get into those states, that's exactly what would happen. Things would start to spiral, and I had more and more reasons to be angry. And so, through this process, I don't know exactly how it happened. It was like magic. I had a couple of really interesting experiences. Would you like me to share those?
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't remember what day of the week we got together. Let's just say it was a Wednesday. Well, Thursday, my wife and I flew to Richmond, Virginia to visit my daughter, Julia. Well, we had a flight delay, which normally I would be very stressed out about. In this case, I kind of took it like, oh, well, not a big deal. Then we arrived and we didn't have enough time to go check into the hotel. So we got our rental car, drove downtown Richmond, went to dinner with my daughter, and at 9:45 we came out. The car had been towed. Well, honestly, Leslie, I would have lost my mind just a week earlier. I would have been angry at the world. The phone number that I called, I would have been angry with whoever was on the other end of the line. Um, my wife and daughter would have seen me, not mad at them, but it having a big impact on them. Leslie, I didn't even realize it until later that night that I didn't feel angry. I felt frustrated, certainly. I felt like, oh my God, we're going to have to go to the hotel without anything because our suitcases, our briefcases, everything was in the car. We didn't even have phone chargers. And so, as frustrating as the situation is, I never lost my cool. I was even tempered. I didn't take it out on the people around me. And the same the next day. It took 45 minutes to get through to the people, the lot that had our car. And you know what? I didn't lose my mind. So that I felt was magic. And I'll let you jump in because I've been talking for a while, but I've had a couple of other situations similar to that.
I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. And that's actually a common thing that will happen as a result of people doing this work. And it's really when we're going into the unconscious mind and using these super deep, powerful neurolinguistic programming tools, we're going to the very root cause, the very first event which we ever experience major negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and shame. These emotions that oftentimes will drive people to emotionally eat or to stress
Sure.
out so much and spiral and affect their sleep, which affects their weight loss, right? This is where we bring in the
Absolutely.
holistic aspect to all of this stuff. And so when we can actually support through kind of a hypnotic type of procedure us to actually go to that very first event and clear out that event and then assist the unconscious mind and clear out all future events, it makes it so that your relationship to those major negative emotions can never be the same way ever again. It
Well,
cannot. Mhm.
it's really interesting, and that has definitely been the case. I don't have the short fuse that I've had my entire life, which I look at as almost miraculous. I think my wife looks at as almost miraculous. Uh, I'm a huge sports fan. I'm the guy who yells at the TV screen. When I was in college, this is embarrassing to admit, but Indiana University was in the Final Four, and they lost the game and I actually punched a hole in the wall. I mean, like just crazy stuff like that. Never violent with like people or anything, just like losing my temper. But I mean, things like that just aren't acceptable. I mean, that's not normal human behavior. And so, interestingly, although I haven't been that intense about it in a long time, still I get upset with my team. I get upset with officials, and I'm just really passionate. I used to lose my voice when I went to basketball or football games because I yelled the entire time. Well, shortly after this other incident, just a week later, I went to the college football playoff game between Indiana and Notre Dame. And we're at Notre Dame Stadium. I'm a big Indiana fan, double graduate, all that good stuff. And IU just got annihilated, just annihilated. And in years past, I would have been so upset and angry and yelling and, probably getting into arguments with Notre Dame fans, just like ridiculous stuff that nobody would think that Jim Arnold would do. But that night I handled it with grace. And I'm not saying that I wasn't frustrated. I'm not saying that I wasn't unhappy because I was, but I didn't lose control. I was in control the entire time and I took it somewhat philosophically, which was very strange to me in the moment, especially because I was with a buddy who has a similar personality to me, except his temper might even be worse. And while he was losing it, I was just observing and keeping my cool.
That is incredible. And did he notice a change? Did he mention anything, or
Yeah,
he
he
was too
did.
hot-headed to notice?
I think he noticed it like the next day. I think he acknowledged it because I said, "Hey, man, do you notice how cool I was?" He's like, "Yeah, what the hell? I mean, you used to be as loud as me and all this sort of thing." And so,
Wow.
those are things. Some people might look at those as relatively small things, but in my mind, in my world, having control over your emotions is a really important thing. And so, and I'm not gonna lie and say this is 100% and I'm never getting angry or frustrated again because that's not the case. But Leslie, one of the things that I think is best about what you do is not only the whole process, which I thought was incredible. I had no idea what to expect, but it was an incredible process. But coming out of it, you also gave me the recording of the last 30 minutes of our session. And it's a great way to sort of reinforce those things that we did together. And many nights I'll actually have my AirPods in and I'll listen to it as I'm falling asleep. And it's funny because it's on a continuous loop. And I've had times where I've woken up and know that it's played through 3 or 4 times. And so, I figure my subconscious is listening because when I listen to it, I'm pretty much bulletproof, which is pretty exciting.
That's absolutely awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, the get everyone gets a customized hypnosis recording from the personal breakthrough session to be able to continue because it does take repetition to have the unconscious mind continue to remember the work that we did during the process. So you can continue to experience those results. I'm curious because I'm sure there's so much, especially for men. And thank you for just your vulnerability. It's just so refreshing, because
You're
there's
welcome.
so many men, especially, right, that they deal with anger stuff. And anger
Yeah.
is not an emotion that society accepts readily at all.
Yeah.
We're shunned, from a major emotion, but it's a normal human emotion.
Yeah. It is.
And so what was it like for you prior to this, after you would have, an anger episode, right, that was more extreme occur? Did you feel shame? Was it embarrassing? Did it upset your what? Like, tell us the impact for you.
Yeah, all of those things. I think the embarrassment piece is significant. Now, again, I'm not ashamed of being an intense and passionate sports fan, and I will always yell at games and I'll always be into it. It's
I
just
do
like,
too, by the way. I
good,
love
good for
it.
you.
Very passionate.
Yeah, hell
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
But by the same token, when you cross the line, when you're just like you make it personal, you're yelling at players or whatever. And not to say I did that, but just the negativity that would come into play was, I think, over the top. And my family would just leave the room, like they didn't want to watch games with me, and that really bothered me. And I was embarrassed and try to modulate that kind of behavior. And now, I mean, it's a lot easier to sit down and watch a game with my family or friends without really getting that heated, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And other things like just having a short fuse. When I feel somebody's wronged me or some frustrating situation arises. I mean, again, it always feels like to the people around you that you're taking it out on them. Even if you don't think you are, they're feeling that tension, they're feeling that, and they take it personally. And that's, I mean, really obviously detrimental to all relationships because people don't want to be around somebody who loses their temper on a regular basis and, can't control that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and for a lot of my clients, it's not our fault is what I want people to know, because it's like we do feel like, oh, I went too far and blah, blah, blah. And then we try to, like you said, modulate it. You try to do all these things to cut it back. But,
Yeah.
there is a reason for anybody listening. That's dealing with anything like this. Like there's a reason deeper down
Mm,
why your experience is like that. And
yeah.
if you've been trying to modulate it unsuccessfully for a long time, consider that doing the subconscious type of work is the access to it. But
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that even though we didn't specifically get into it during our session, I think that the overeating and the emotions around that, I think there was a really deep impact on me with regard to that also, because it's never been so easy for me just to maintain good habits and not the stupid things. I mean, not that I don't. I mean, because I will still overeat on occasion. I will still, eat a big donut, which I did while I was at a thing last week. I'll do those things. But again, I think a lot of what you did was about moderating a lot of behaviors and thoughts and emotions. And so again, while I didn't anticipate having that sort of an impact, I think that the impact is a lot deeper than what I recognized initially.
wow, that's amazing. Yes, and I wanted to tie it to the eating. So, it sounds like so that you have seen a difference in eating since working through the major negative emotions and doing the unconscious work. Tell us about that or how it's positively impacted the health habits.
Yeah, again, it's just the notion that everything is okay in moderation. I mean,
Mm,
being moderate, eating some unhealthy food on occasion, I
Mm.
mean, it's just not a big deal as long as your habits are pretty solid outside of that. You just can't do it too often. And again, as a man of extremes, historically speaking, and a man of with an all or nothing mentality, this is just kind of a new way of looking at things, and food is one of those things. I don't
Mhm.
feel the need to overeat. I don't feel the need to have a midnight snack. I don't feel the need to, run to Dairy Queen or whatever. It's just when it's there, I'm going to eat it, no problem. But I'm not going to do it again tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that because I don't need to.
Yeah, and that's really the difference, Jim, right? Is the when you feel that urge, that need, that have to have, that scary kind of feeling towards eating something off the food plan. For anyone listening, consider it is the major negative emotions that are underneath the surface that actually are driving that scary feeling. There is a
100%.
total difference between eating a donut that's coming from that space of anger, self-hatred, whatever, guilt versus just eating the donut because the donut is there.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
that is the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree
Hmm.
100%. I
Hmm.
think that at least in my case, and I know a lot of people can relate to this as well, that so much of weight gain is associated with emotional eating, and when you do gain some weight, because all of a sudden I go from 20 hours of exercise a week to zero for week after week, month after month with some of the same habits, the weight comes on, and then all of a sudden, emotionally speaking, there's guilt, there's shame, there's embarrassment, and those things just make you want to eat more. And so that cycle sort of repeats itself over and over again. And so, I've been very conscientious about breaking that cycle. And again, this is kind of the cherry on top. And this is what I am confident will, keep me at a healthy weight for the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Congratulations.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. So it's really the doing that background work. The metaphor I've been giving recently has been imagining that life is a body of water and imagining that when we enter life, when you enter the body of water, everything's free. You're having fun as a kid. There's no problems in the world, but then something happens that creates a negative emotion, right? And then we start panicking. And then in
Yeah.
order to soothe the panic from the hard thing that happened, we go for the most accessible thing, which is usually food, which actually soothes. So that
Yeah.
becomes just the automatic programming in the brain of food is the thing to soothe me.
Well, and when you're a kid and your metabolism is through the roof and you're playing three different sports, I mean, I couldn't gain weight. I mentioned I was 109 pounds as a senior in high school. I mean, I was an all-American runner. I was recruited to run for a couple hundred schools and whatnot in college, but um, once that stopped, and your metabolism starts to slow down a little bit, I never anticipated. I always laughed, oh, I'll never be fat. I'll never gain weight because look at me, I'm so skinny, whatever. And boy, it did not take long. Dental school, I think I gained about 30 pounds and then came out of dental school, lost it. And then I gained 40 pounds, got into triathlon, lost it, quit triathlon with, torn Achilles tendons, torn hamstrings, herniated discs, and a variety of other, uh, uh, yeah, torn rotator cuff and whatnot, and the weight came right back on. But this time you said it's always more, or it's often more, 68 pounds. I mean, I went from 136 at a 7% body fat athlete to 204. And at this stage of the game, I've dropped 60 of that. And again, now it's not about weight, it's just about being healthy and maintaining this, because look, blood pressure and blood sugar and cholesterol and triglycerides. I mean, those numbers are really what kill us in the long run. And so getting all of that stuff under control and feeling confident in keeping it there is it's a real gift.
I totally agree. And the numbers, the triglycerides, whatever, when someone really cares, they're a high performer and they want to make sure that they're healthy, if we have not done the work yet on the guilt, the shame, the fear,
Yeah.
the anger, right? Then sometimes you see those numbers, you get the scale goes up to 60 extra pounds,
Yep.
and there's the anger, the fear, the anxiety, the whatever that actually, right? Like you were talking about, brings to the vicious cycle. So it's like, what would it be like if you had the tools to deal with the anger, the fear, the anxiety, so that regardless of where your weight was at, or if you had an injury, or you go through menopause, or
Right.
whatever's going on, that you can stay stable mentally, emotionally, no matter what. You can still perform incredibly well at work, right? You can still have good sex with your partner, right? All of these
Yeah.
things that people are like, "Oh my gosh, my life is over since
Yeah.
my weight is up," versus, "Hey, no, I'm going through a hard thing right now.
Yeah.
There's been these circumstances that have caused life to change, dental school, injury, whatever it is.
Sure.
And so let me have compassion and also self-trust that once I continue to take care of myself extraordinarily well, like I always do with, but maybe it looks different, like it's physical therapy, it's this, it's
Sure.
whatever, that I will be able to get myself easily back to where my body wants to be, but that's the pendulum that, if we could ease it from being so extreme to like smooth out those edges so that you can be calm and at peace no matter what. That's the beauty, that's the
Absolutely.
magic.
And honestly, it's not easy for me to talk about this. I wanted to be on the podcast because I want at least some more people who hear this to seek you out and utilize your services. So I'm being vulnerable, and I'm being very transparent about all of these things that I haven't been in the past, just for that, because if my story helps even one other person, if you're able to help even one other person, then it's worth having this conversation.
I really appreciate that. Everyone appreciates it. It's what makes you such an extraordinary conscious leader. It's what makes people
Oh,
trust you and want to work with you even more. I have
thank you.
absolutely loved working with you. And I'm just so happy for your success and can't wait to see, what continues to go on as you keep moving forward. So if anyone's on the edge, they're not sure, they're thinking about it. Hypnosis is weird. I don't know if I want to dig into any of these emotions. I don't know if I could be as vulnerable and awesome as Dr. Jim. What would you say to them?
I had no idea what to expect going into it. Even after our interview, I had no idea what to expect. But for me, it was an extraordinary experience in that your process literally unlocked my subconscious mind. I mean, I was aware of what was going on, but the things that came out of my brain and then out of my mouth were things that I had not ever thought of before, and I was able to make associations that I'd never made before. And so I think that's where the magic is, having someone as adept at this whole process as you are, pulling those things out, unlocking that subconscious mind, and then training that subconscious mind to keep those gains for the long run. That's really where the magic happens. And so I can say without reservation that any of your clients are lucky to be in your care, because they're going to have similar results if they take it seriously. If they're open-minded and they take it seriously, they're going to get great results.
Really appreciate that. I just feel inspired to say the opposite of addiction is connection.
Oh
And what
yeah.
I really see is like you're sharing this is, helping other people connect and get out of whatever addiction or, bad habits that they have, but also for yourself. I know that you've been through a journey and right of continuing to get healthier and,
Sure.
all the more authentic and all the things over the years. And it's just so incredible. So I just really want to acknowledge the gift that you've also given yourself to
Well,
be so open and authentic with your emotions and
well,
right
thank
real
you.
stuff
You know
that
what?
allows you to just get healthier and healthier, and have your family expand, your business expand, right? There's so many leaders that they'll spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars in their business investments, their team, their whatever, but for you to be just so honest with yourself and be like, no, I actually have things to work on and I have no shame in saying it and taking
Yeah.
action. Like, I just wish so many more leaders, would be like you.
Well, look,
Um,
human beings are flawed. We're all flawed. We all have bad habits. We all have things that we'd like to change. There's no question about it. All we can do, though, is continue to grow and try to make changes for the positive. And, while I'm on this journey, mind, body, and spirit to optimize my life to the extent that's possible, I want to share and inspire as many other people as I can. And your services were kind of the perfect tool in the toolbox for me to kind of accentuate that growth.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. The world, I really truly believe, is a better place because you are in it. So
Thank you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And for anyone, I have dentists that work with me all the time that might be interested in a luxury retreat or might need your services. How can they find you if they need your help?
Yeah, I'm pretty open. Anybody who wants to shoot me a text and set up a call, go for it. 219-241-4698. Or you can send me an email at drarnold, Dr. Arnold, at smilesbyarnold.com. And I'm happy to talk about this experience. I'm happy to talk about luxury dental retreats. I'm happy to talk about your practice. I'm in such a good place right now where I feel really able to empower and help more people than I ever have before, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can't wait to see what text you get in your inbox and how you're able to make a difference for anyone who chooses to reach out. I know that'll make it better for them just by having one conversation with you. So, Dr. Jim, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
My
And for
pleasure.
anyone listening, if you're ready to take the plunge and do the deep work so that you're not just banging your head against the wall saying, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stay consistent? Why can't I do what I know that I should do to get my health in check? Then please reach out. The phone number is 1-855-232-5483. Text the word hypnosis. You'll get access to my free hypnosis training. And yeah, that'll give you the support that you need to get started and take the first step. So thank you so much again for being here, Dr. Jim, and we'll see you
My
for the next
pleasure.
episode. Thank
All
you.
right. You take care.
All
Thanks again.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.